On Friday, December the 26th, the day right after Christmas, FBI Director Kash Patel came out and he announced something that was a long time in the making, that the FBI will be permanently shutting down their headquarters building. That is, of course, the J. Edgar Hoover building located over in Washington, D.C., which, for your reference, has served as the FBI HQ for the past roughly 50 years. Here was part of the statement released by Kash Patel announcing the change. Quote, "After more than 20 years of failed attempts, we finalized the plan to permanently close the FBI's Hoover headquarters and move the workforce into a safe, modern facility. Working directly with President Trump and Congress, we accomplished what no one else could. When we arrived, taxpayers were about to be on the hook for nearly $5 billion for a new headquarters that wouldn't open until 2035. We scrapped that plan." Now, the plan that he's referencing in that statement, the one that would have caused the taxpayers roughly $5 billion and would not have been operational until the year 2035, that was something that was initiated under the Joe Biden administration. And actually, roughly 2.5 years ago, we did a full deep dive episode on their plan. But the gist of it was that the Biden administration was going to move the FBI headquarters to a new 61-acre property in suburban Greenbelt, Maryland. On that parcel of land, they were going to build a sprawling 2.1 million square foot campus, meaning in a practical sense that the new FBI headquarters was planned to be at least twice the size of the Pentagon. And just for your general reference, the Pentagon covers only about 29 acres, and yet still, the Pentagon is already the largest office building on Earth. And so that's pretty wild if you think about it. The largest office building on Earth, which currently houses the administrative center of the U.S. military, was going to be dwarfed by this new building complex that the Biden administration was creating in order to house the federal police force. But again, that plan, it was scrapped altogether by the Trump administration. Now, at this very moment, and for the past 50 years now, the FBI headquarters has been located in Washington, D.C. at the J. Edgar Hoover building located at 935 Pennsylvania Avenue. And that building, by the way, is already in and of itself massive. It covers around 2 square blocks. And just as a fun fact, according to this recent survey here up on your screen, the J. Edgar Hoover building, with its brutalist architectural design, was voted to be the ugliest building in the United States. Also, funny enough, in that same poll, they found it to be the second ugliest building in the entire world, right behind the Scottish Parliament building. Regardless, though, the reason that both Biden and Trump wanted to move away from the J. Edgar Hoover building was not really because of its aesthetics. The official reason was threefold. The first reason had to do with the fact that the FBI just physically had grown too big, even for that giant building that covers 2 square blocks. At this very moment, the FBI has roughly 38,000 employees. And even though only a percentage of them work out of DC, and only a percentage of them work out of the J. Edgar Hoover building, they have essentially reached the limit. And so at the moment, the situation as it currently stands is that thousands of FBI agents, they work at about a dozen other locations that are being leased by the government in and around Washington, D.C., just because the Hoover building is at max capacity. And so the cost to you and me, the American taxpayers, for all those different leases is about $150 million per year. And so that's the first issue, money. By consolidating the space, the FBI can not only save money, but also they can have everyone work together, which in theory can create more synergy. Then, the second official reason has to do with the fact that the J. Edgar Hoover building is really not in good shape. In fact, all the way back in the year 2011, you had the Government Accountability Office publish this report here that you can see up on your screen, saying that, among other things, the Hoover building's condition was deteriorating and that the FBI has well outgrown this aging building, which can no longer support the security of the people working there. And then on top of that, lastly, the third reason for the move is because the J. Edgar Hoover building takes up 2 square blocks of premium DC real estate. And so by getting rid of it, the city of DC actually plans to turn that site into housing units, into retail locations, as well as to possibly just scrap the eyesore that is the facade of the building itself. And so those are the 3 official reasons anyway for why the change in location needs to happen. If you think there's maybe another reason, maybe an unsaid reason of why this move needs to happen, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd love to read them. And also, as you're making your way down there to the comment section, please do smash those like and subscribe buttons while you're at it. It helps the episode reach ever more people by the algorithm. Thank you very much. All right, just to pause here for a super quick moment, I'd like to introduce our new sponsor, Aura, the best company to use to actually keep your identity safe. I use them myself, and they really are great. What they do is they scan the dark web to see whether your information is out there, like your contact info and your social security number, things like that. And then they send you alerts if they find anything. And for me, they found a lot. I had 8 critical leaks online, including 6 password leaks. And Aura actually sends you what they found. And yeah, my actual email and passwords were online. So as soon as I saw that, I immediately changed everything. And they're also constantly monitoring things like your credit report, any suspicious transactions, any new data breaches. And so if anyone opens up a new line of credit in your name, for example, you immediately get notified. Also, they have another great service, which is that their team, they contact all these different data brokers online with official notices requesting that they remove your info. Because I don't know about you, but the amount of things like spam calls and random emails I've been getting is off the charts in the last year. And the reason is actually fairly simple. My contact information is just out there on all those different people's search websites. And so Aura is good. They scan all those sites, they get those companies to actually remove your name and contact info from them. And that service is so good, it saves you probably a month of time having to reach out to all those different companies yourself. Also, if the worst does happen, Aura actually offers identity theft insurance, up to $1 million per adult, of course, depending on the plan you get. And also they have this white glove fraud remediation team that actually helps walk you through recovery step by step. And so yeah, check them out. Just head on over to aura.com/factsmatter, and there you can get a 14-day free trial, which I would recommend for everyone to get, even if you don't continue with their service. During that 14-day free trial, it includes a scan of the dark web for your info. And so basically with that scan, you'll know what's out there as well as what passwords you need to change immediately. And the scary thing is that it might be some password from some random account that you opened up like 7 years ago on some random website, but that website got hacked and now the information is just out there. So definitely check out the trial. I'll throw a link to Aura. It'll be down there in the description box below. Just click on that link and it'll take you to the sale page where you can take advantage of that offer. And now let's get back to the show. Now, with the Biden plan to move to Maryland scrapped by the Trump administration, the question becomes, where is the FBI actually moving to? And to that end, according to Kash Patel, they're actually just moving right down the street. Quote, Kash Patel said that the agency would immediately begin transitioning to the Ronald Reagan Building and International Trade Center, which is just blocks away in Washington. The complex also houses U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the Environmental Protection Agency, the General Services Administration, and a variety of other organizations. And it is indeed just a few blocks away. If you look at it on a map, by foot, it only takes roughly 6 minutes to walk from the Hoover Building over to the new Ronald Reagan Building. And according to Kash, work is already underway to convert the office space that's recently been vacated by all the federal workforce cuts into the FBI new headquarters. Quote, we selected the already existing Reagan Building, saving billions and allowing the transition to begin immediately with the required safety and infrastructure upgrades already underway. Which from the U.S. taxpayers' perspective is pretty good. They don't need to lease any more office buildings. They don't need to buy a new building. They don't need to spend $5 billion on that Maryland site. They already own the building and they're just converting it after all those federal employees were let go. So that's pretty good, saving the taxpayers potentially tens of billions of dollars. Now, for your reference, the Reagan Building is significantly larger than the J. Edgar Hoover Building. The Reagan Building is around 3.1 million square feet versus the Hoover Building, which was around 2.8 million square feet. Although, as I mentioned earlier, the Reagan Building will not exclusively be used by the FBI. They'll actually be sharing it with a number of different agencies. And also, it's worth mentioning that quite a few of the DC-based FBI agents are actually going to be sent elsewhere into the country altogether. To that end, you had FBI Director Kash Patel say the following during an interview with Fox News. Quote, look, the FBI has 38,000 employees when we're fully manned, which we're not. In the National Capital Region, in the 50-mile radius around Washington, D.C., there were 11,000 FBI employees. That's like a third of the workforce. A third of the crime doesn't happen here, so we're taking 1,500 of those folks and moving them out. And so there you have it. The J. Edgar Hoover Building is looking like it's really going to be retired as a government office and will now be converted into something more civilian, like housing units or retail space. The Reagan Building will become the new headquarters of the FBI moving forward. The project over in Maryland has been scrapped, saving the U.S. taxpayers a few $1 billion, which is good. We can send it to the Somalians over in Minneapolis. And according to Kash Patel, something like 10 to 15% of the FBI agents in D.C. are going to be sent into the interior of the United States. And so there you have it. If you'd like to read the details of this general FBI update, I will throw the links to my research notes. You can find them down in the description box below, which again, I will mention is that description box right below those like and subscribe buttons, both of which I hope you've already smashed. But if you haven't, now's a good opportunity to smash them so that the algorithm will pick up this episode, share it to ever more people, and letting this information be known far and wide. Thank you so much for that. And then until next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Happy New Year. And then until next time, stay informed, and most importantly, stay free.